You are now listening to the Hot Take Podcast, brought to you by Full Time Fantasy. Here are your hosts, Stephen Taroni and Josh Daly. Time to make it hot.
Welcome in. This is the Hot Take Podcast. Super excited tonight, guys. It is a mock draft episode. We've been doing these pretty frequently throughout the summer. Gotta stay up to date on the ADPs. Josh, what's going on, buddy? How you feeling tonight?
Oh, feeling fantastic, my guy, as always. Always get excited for the mock draft episodes. I think they're a lot of fun. Plus we don't have to do like a whole buttload of research for these. We just kind of like dive right in and have fun. And I know we will tonight because we have my co-owner. We co-own a fantasy baseball team together, and it's was until today kicking much ass, but not so much after today. But it's okay. Of course, I'm talking about Mick Ciallela, our buddy. You can find him on Twitter at the Mick23. Mick, welcome into the Hot Take, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mick, I know you are a busy dude. I know you're writing at Fantrax still. You're doing the rankings on Fantasy Pros this year, which is pretty exciting. You want to let the fans know anything that you're up to right now before we kick off the draft?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Fantrax, as you said, doing one baseball column for the year. But for football, not exactly sure. We got the rankings situation, as you mentioned, on Fantasy Pros, and we have some different staff rankings on Fantrax. And I'm going to be doing a couple of weekly pieces. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to have me doing yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's going to be a crazy season. So, embrace the chaos. Looking forward to it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're still doing the rankings over there. When my time there, you were awesome, very supportive and good person that I could rely on, whenever we were doing like a mock draft or whatever. And that was a good experience over there. I just had a quick question, because we're about to get into this draft. I mean, can you just talk a little bit about, ranking players and what that means to you in your drafts? Because I think that there's just no better way to draft than just making your own rankings.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I mean, relying on ADP, you guys know, it's very flawed for a number of reasons. The site specifics, ADP, it has little to do with your actual scoring system or roster configurations. Like, for example, the mock we're about to do is a PPR, and, some ADPs take into account PPR, some just lump everything together. So I like to kind of do my own rankings based off of, league-specific specs, and then kind of work from there and do my own rankings that way.
And that's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. I think that, that's the way to do it. And then you can get even deeper, and then you start tiering out players, and then that you don't necessarily want to reach for a guy at the beginning of a tier, because, if you can wait for that third guy in your tier a couple rounds later, for instance, you're really winning the draft as far as your rankings. So you did what you came to do if you can walk away from a draft following your rankings. But speaking of a draft, before we get into the mock draft, something we wanted to ask you in particular is there a cool way that you have seen a league, or maybe you've done this yourself, kind of pick the draft selection? So who's going to be picking at what position? There, you can randomize that in a lot of different ways. I've seen some cool creative things. I always try to think of new ways to do that. Is there anything you've done in your drafts in particular?
I wouldn't say I have anything super creative, but the two things that I like to do are one, KDS style, where you kind of randomize it based on personal preference. So you might not want the first pick, you might want the third or fourth pick, so you could still get one of the top tier running backs, and then get somebody a little bit earlier in the second round. So I kind of like the KDS style. I also like the idea, and we've done this in a couple of leagues, where the teams that barely miss out on the playoffs get either the first pick or a top 3 pick. I think that way it keeps the league competitive, and you don't have teams that are selling off players for pennies on the dollar or, not setting lineups or anything like that. Everybody's fighting to get to the playoffs first and foremost, but secondarily to that, they're at least trying to maintain a high draft pick for the following year. So those are the kind of styles that I like to employ as far as draft pick selection.
Josh, I know you have something that you did that I love.
Yeah, dude, I've like incorporated my kids, into drafts in the past. Like, I've gotten multiple household appliances involved, including like vacuums, dryers. But I think probably my favorite is the one year my league, for whatever reason, we just had like, a couple dudes had to drop out in the same year, and it was really tough, getting the league back up to a dozen players. So we went down to 10 and actually rented the WWE video game and brought that bad boy home. This is back in the PS3 days. And we fired up a 10-man Royal Rumble. And so there's like 2 drafts. Like, first of all, we went reverse order of, drafts. So the worst team got to their first pick of the wrestler, which I thought was fair. And then the draw for the Royal Rumble, that in itself was random. So we had no idea what order these wrestlers were coming out.
Right.
But, lo and behold, when you have that much randomization, really, it kind of made it a lot of fun. I recorded the whole thing on YouTube back before you could live stream. And, that was a pain in the butt to upload, let me tell you. But after like a day and a half of uploading and whatever YouTube videos used to do back then, it was ready to rock, man. And everybody enjoyed it. And that was probably the most fun and enjoyable when it was going on. Not so much the whole afterwards and uploading it, but yeah, that was a fantastic way. That was a real fun way to get it done.
Yeah, the things us commissioners have to go through, like the tedious work and efforts that we do for our league mates.
It's a thankless job.
They don't appreciate
Labor
it.
Labor of love, my friend.
That's awesome, Josh, because what you did you created another draft for your draft. I mean, come on. Anytime that you're adding on drafts, like, please, like, give me inception of drafts. Like, that's what I want. But, like, one thing that I'm going to do this year that I wanted to do last year, I don't know why it didn't happen. I think we're going to pull it off this year. We're going to finally go up to my buddy's house. I haven't seen him since the beginning of quarantine, but he's got a pool. And one thing we've been doing, and Josh, I was telling you this, going into the pool in style, he's got a nice little slide. So we'll do slide shots, what we've called slide shots, where we take a shot as we're going down the slide, and then you just go in the water, and that's it. Whatever. So we'll do that. But when we get into the pool, there's going to be 12 red solo cups with each member's name on there. So we slide into the pool, grab a cup, call out the name, and that's the first pick, and then go from there.
That's awesome. I like it. You almost need to write the team name on the inside with the Sharpie, so you can't you can't really see what's going on.
Yeah, no, I like that. And this sort of thing is sparked up the wheels are turning for us, because we're gonna get a giveaway going based on this idea. We're going to announce it. We don't know what we're giving away yet, so we can't announce it officially, but we are definitely going to get your ideas. What do you do? What is the coolest thing that you've done to randomize the draft order?
All right. Yeah, we'll go ahead and hit start here and get the draft kicked off. And this is already a squirrelier draft than the one we did with father and son, where Derrick Henry went number 2 overall. It starts Saquon, Alvin Kamara, CMC goes to the 3 hole like it's 2019, and then Michael Thomas at 4, Zeke at 5, and Devonte Adams at 6, which cues it up to me for the 7th pick. Of course, we got 7, 8, 9 going here. We made a little mix sandwich. We love the sandwiches here on the Hot Take, so I got the Hot Take mock draft, aka Nick draft episode. I'm going to go ahead and take CEH. That's my boy. We talked about on our running backs episode. I'm not that high on Dalvin Cook, so I'll let him fall to one of you guys. You just tune into any of the last 2 episodes for why I love CEH, man. Sign me up for the Andy Reid running backs, and Mick, it's up to you, my friend, for your first pick at number 8.
Well, I'm gonna take your scraps, and I'm gonna draft Alvin Cook. He was second overall in points per game last year. I know there's injury concerns, and there was talk about holdouts and this and that, but guy's a top 5 running back in my estimation. So I will gladly take him as the overall RB6 in this draft with my first pick.
There you go, Steve. That's up to you, my friend. Who are you taking after Cook?
Yeah, so Dalvin Cook is great at 108, first of all. In a PPR draft, that's amazing. And, being at the 7, 8, 9, sort of turn that we're at, I knew that CEH wouldn't make it to me, and I assumed Cook would have already been gone. So I was actually hoping for Devonte Adams at this point. It seems like all the PPR, like I think Austin Eckler is actually viable right now at the 109. This is what I'm going to do. It's between Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs. We'll see if Nick Chubb gets it back to me. I'm going to go Josh Jacobs here, and we'll see if Nick Chubb makes it back to me.
All right, sounds good. So Jacobs off the board, followed by Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, and then the turn goes Julio and Joe Mixon, and Austin Eckler, and Nick Chubb goes right in front of you, dude. You just got sniped.
So, I think at the 109, it would be kind of interesting to start off the draft Josh Jacobs and Nick Chubb. I guess that appeals a little bit more appetizing for, a 0.5 or a standard. So, I didn't get Nick Chubb, but I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go Miles Sanders and take the upside of the 204. I think that's good value. And I'm going to go Miles Sanders. So I'm starting off my draft, Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders. Pretty happy with that.
Awesome. And then it's up to you, Mick, for the second pick, 2.5.
And I was really hoping that Sanders would fall to me. So, Steve, you got me on that one. So kudos to you on that one. I think I'm going to – I like even in the PPR league, I want to kind of stack running backs if possible. So I think I'm going to go with my boy Aaron Jones here.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to go Aaron Jones. I was just about to say I like being in this kind of back half of the first round. When you're at the 8 or 9, I mean, you're almost guaranteeing that you're going to start off with 2 studs. But if you're at, the 6 or 7, that's not guaranteed, man. And Aaron Jones is kind of like that last guy that goes out of the stud pile for me, and that's a little bit tricky. So makes the decision a little bit harder, especially when you're looking at the running back pool. I mean, not unless you want to take a deep dive on Todd Gurley or somebody like James Conner. I personally don't. So I'm going to take the major upside with Tyreek Hill there. And if one of those running backs makes it back to me, I probably will do something like that. It ends up going DeAndre Hopkins, Mahomes, Chris Godwin, Travis Kelce, Todd Gurley. The turn for 2-3 goes George Kittle and Chris Carson, followed by Kenny Galladay, Leonard Fournette, Lamar Jackson, DJ, and then, of course, Connor goes right in front of me. So I get sniped this time coming back around. So that sucks because I was really wanting to go for running back in this spot. The true bell cows are really, really winding down here. I got a feeling one of these guys is going to go in the next 3 picks. But I kind of got my eye on somebody a little bit further down the board. So I'm actually going to go ahead in the 3rd round here, pick 3-7. And I don't know if it's a reach or not, but I'm going to go with my boy Juju. Nick, that's on you.
I like it. I think it's time for me to take my first wide out as well. You mentioned the thing about having the pick in the back of the first round. I kind of like having a pick in the back of the first round or in the beginning. I think the middle area, like you mentioned before, is where things get a little bit tricky. But I think right here, still in a good spot, still got plenty of wide receiver talent on the board. I'm going to go with Mike Evans here. Dude is just a perennial stud, and now, of course, he's got the GOAT feeding him passes. So I'm going to take Mike Evans here as my first wide receiver at 3-8.
Nice. That's pulls up to the 3-9. Mr. Tironi, you are on the clock.
Yeah, so what's happening, I don't know if it's the sleeper ADP or not, but who I thought would be my fourth round pick, I'm thinking is going to have to be my third round pick, and that's Le'Veon Bell. And I want to stay true to brand, and I want to draft Le'Veon Bell right here and go running back, and just see how my team turns out. With the first pick, Josh Jacobs, I don't know if I would do that again. I think that if I could do it again, I would go either Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb. But everything else, I want to see what's going on with starting off the draft 3 running backs here.
Yeah, and like I said, those bell cows are winding down right after you pick. Of course, Gordon, Montgomery go off the board. Allen Robinson and Thielen get taken at the turn, followed by OBJ, and then Devin Singletary goes as the 4-3. So right before you're up, are you finally going wide receiver here?
It's a mock draft. I mean, I could go – okay, so I would go Cooper Kupp. I would go Cooper Kupp if I was going wide receiver. Do I want Cooper Kupp to be my wide receiver 1? In a PPR, maybe. DJ Moore is appealing. Jonathan Taylor is just very interesting. And, I want to see what my team looks like. I just want to see what my team looks like. So I'm going to go 4 running backs in a row. Very off-brand, actually. I'm known to go wide receiver to start drafts. I just want to see what this looks like.
Man, I can't believe you did that.
Steve, I got to tell you, I think you're right this year at least, because wide receiver is so deep that I kind of agree with what you're saying about getting the running backs early. If you stack 3 or 4 in a row, there's plenty of wide receivers later that I think you can get without any major issues. So I kind of like that idea, actually.
It's a super running back heavy. Where are you going with your 4th pick, Mick?
I think and this is where it gets tricky because we just talked about it. The running backs, I'm not in love with any of these guys here. I think I might be better off waiting around and kind of see what comes back to me. In the meantime, we've got those tiers we talked about as far as the tight ends go, and I think there's a very clear top 5, at least for me, with tight ends. So I'm going to try to grab one now to make sure I don't miss out on that tier. It's kind of a toss-up to me, honestly, between Ertz and Andrews. I think I'm going to go Ertz. And, I drafted Andrews before Ertz in drafts before, so I just kind of want to see how this plays out. So I'm actually going to go with Ertz here as my 4th round pick.
I like it. And we've talked about Ertz as being a potential value right now, where if you didn't take him, Mick, I'm thinking maybe he falls to maybe the 4-11, maybe early 5th round. And obviously he's not going to make it back to you, so you want him there. But I think he's the value pick where people are going to get Mark Andrews. He's still on the board, which is crazy. And Josh, right. I know you have to be thinking about him right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's, over here on the Sleeper app, he's, 45 ADP, which is coming up here in a couple picks. And his teammate Mark Ingram is as well, which is gross because I really wanted to take Jonathan Taylor. Unfortunately, that's not going my way. However, the way that I think this draft is going to shake out, I'm going to do something that I really only usually do in best ball and take a quarterback a little earlier than I normally would. So I'm going to go with Russ here because I feel like this could be a year where maybe the Seahawks aren't so run heavy. And that would be great because with how efficient Russell Wilson has been, I mean, the dude can get like 330 yards on like 19 pass attempts. And, there's major chemistry with the wide receiver core. And of course, just like I kind of assumed the draft would play out, I do get one of his connections there, kind of sitting right atop the ADP suggestions here, which is Tyler Lockett. I was hoping for either DK or him to fall. This is kind of right in that range. Of course, the next wide receiver off the board, or the next pick, was DJ Moore, followed by Woods, Cooper, Metcalf. So there goes one of them. And then Ridley, McLaurin, Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, DJ Chark, and AJ Brown. So just a massive receiver run.
Oh, yeah. And it's the last thing I wanted to see there. So, for me, Taylor at the 404, would I go receiver again? Probably. I think there's a lot of receivers on the board I still like. But for all of these receivers to go, because, at least I want one of McLaurin, DJ Chark, AJ Brown. Not likely that they would get back to me. I was thinking maybe Chark was the only one that had a chance. But you look at Kupp and Andrews going at the 501 and the 502 in a PPR draft. Yeah, I'm great with those picks there. I mean, all these fifth-round picks are awesome with A.J. Brown, DJ Chark, Andrews, and Kupp. And then, Josh, you go Tyler Lockett there, which I think is a great, great pick at the 507.
Yeah, I mean, I passed up Mark Ingram for Russ, and I didn't think there was a way he'd make it back to me, and he actually went right before me. So yeah, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I went Lockett there, but yeah, this is definitely an interesting draft so far. And Mick, before you make your pick here, I think this is the value of mock drafts right here, kind of playing out in front of us. You're saying, hey, I want to see what this team looks like going for running backs, and now you're kind of wishing you took that DJ Moore stab or that Cooper Kupp stab, something like that. If I didn't already have two wide receivers and Hill and Juju myself, man, I would have loved any of those guys. But for me, I figured I would do something a little bit different here and go Russ. But that's the beauty of mock drafts, man. You can definitely kind of map out some different game plans and see how things shake out. Maybe you think your team's disgusting, so maybe you love it when you're done. So we'll see. But Mick, you are up now for the 5.8 here.
Yeah, and like you guys said, the run on wide receivers is kind of making me think, man, maybe I should have gone wide out in round 4. Maybe I could have still gotten, one of the tight ends in round 5. Waller's still on the board, obviously. I'm not gonna pick him here since I took Ertz. But yeah, a lot of different ways this can play out. I think before I grab another wide receiver, just because they are so deep, I am going to try to take one more running back in the top 5 rounds, and I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. I know, there's a crowded backfield and a lot of mouths to feed out in Cleveland, but the guy was a top 24 PPR back in the 8 games he played. So, and right now I think he's coming off the board somewhere in the 25 to 30 range. I haven't done the actual count on our mock so far, but I kind of like the value here.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It's a great upside pick in the 5th round. You already have your base of Cook and Jones, and then that third running back, if he can be an upside play, that's what you want on PPR. The volume he saw last year, if he's getting anywhere close to that, you're going to love that pick at the back of the 5th round in the PPR draft. And the value in passing game I'm talking about, of course. But, right now I'm staring at Keenan Allen. He's the top of the board for this wide receiver list. And I'm thinking about it, do I really – I was thinking about Darren Waller. I was really thinking about Darren Waller and his, 100-plus targets that he's going to get in this Raiders offense that I'm very comfortable with. I could go there at the 509. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I think I would definitely consider it if I was on the clock in a real draft because I think there's a tier break there. I really do. But I'm actually going to go Keenan Allen because I'm looking at the back of the 5th round. I can walk away with Keenan Allen, who is a perennial wide receiver 1. No, I don't have him ranked that way. I don't have him ranked as a wide receiver 1, but could it happen? Sure. So, what if Tyrod just airs it out a little bit and Keenan Allen can get some more air yards now? maybe he's going to be looking for him. I mean, Allen's still fast. Yeah, we know he's a technician, but he still can get deep. So I'm taking a little shot there, Keenan Allen. I'm going to be drafting a lot of receivers here. So Stephon Diggs, T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green, Cortland Sutton, all receivers that go off the board. Darren Waller goes off the board, and Cam Akers. So now I'm looking at upside. I'm looking at the wide receiver position. Not really looking RB right now. I mean, Ronald Jones is interesting to me. But, yeah, I'd rather wait. And if he doesn't make it back, I don't need him. I have 4 running backs, so I'm going to go wide receiver here. And I'm going to get my guy. I'm gonna get him right here. I'm going to get Will Fuller. We've been talking about him. And, in the 6th round, I would get him in the 7th round. I think when it comes to the real thing, I'll wait. But right now I'm looking at, all these players, Hollywood, Devante Parker, all these guys. I think actually the highest upside is with Will Fuller right now. So I'm all in on Will Fuller.
Yeah, for sure, man. The after last week's episode and, the live stream from Wednesday, that is not a surprise, man. You got the that's your dude. You can put your dude sticker on him.
Yeah, get my dude sticker and give it to me because I'll
use it. I'm all about the high upside, Mick. That's why I loved your Kareem Hunt pick. Some might consider that a reach, but in a PPR, I don't think so, man. I think he's got major skills. We said this on the live stream. You don't see many former rushing champions as the quote unquote passing down back, but I think he's going to eat, man. And, same with Will Fuller. I love that you guys are kind of making these picks. Mick, who are you looking at for the 6.5 here?
Well, I'm looking at a wide out. We got to fill some needs here. So I'm going to go with a guy who was a top 12 receiver last year and can arguably get more targets now that a couple of wide receivers on his own squad have opted out of the 2020 season. So I'm going to grab Devante Parker here as a target magnet, and I think he can get, 150 targets and put up some big numbers.
Oh, man, 150 for Devante Parker? Okay. I like it. I mean, look, if he gets 150 and if they're Ryan Fitzpatrick, all from Ryan Fitzpatrick, oh, baby, Devante Parker's a top 10 guy. Are you kidding me?
I mean, he had 128 last year, so it's only, 1 or 2 more a game. So it's possible. It's in the realm.
I love it.
All right, and then next pick, I'm going to go, and it's going to hurt me because I know I'm going to miss my guy coming back around, but I got to get a running back, man. So it's either between DeAndre Swift and Ronald Jones. I'll just go ahead and play my Lions homer card and take DeAndre Swift. There's really he's really the only starting running back left other than Ronald Jones. So, of course, Rojo goes right after that, and then my guy I was talking about, Hollywood Brown, there he goes, pick 6-8. It was fun while it lasted, but J.K. Dobbins, his teammate, goes right afterwards, and then we get a mini QB run. We get Kyler and Drew Brees before the turn comes up here. 6-7 turn goes James White and Deshaun Watson, followed by one of Watson's targets and Brandon Cooks. And then we have Gallup, Gronk, and Hayden Hurst going off the board. So that's probably one of the earliest I've seen Hurst actually get taken here. So I'm a little bit surprised on that, but at the same time, also not surprised. And then followed by Marlon Mack here, who I was kind of contemplating if he was going to be still there at the 7-7, but instead I'm going to go with my guy, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Super Safe floor with access to a ceiling at times. And we talked about on Wednesday's live stream how I think the Browns offense is definitely on the way up. I think we were just maybe a year early on some of this. They've added some weapons. They've massively upgraded that offensive line. I do see a lot of good things in the future for the Browns. So I'm going to take my dude Juice Landry here, put my dude sticker on him. There we go. And then Mick, you are up for the 7.8, my friend.
I am, and I think it's time to address the signal caller position. They're starting to fly off the board, and yet there is still a guy who I have in my top 5 who's still available, So I'm going to take Mr. Dak Prescott here as my QB.
Nice.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, like I was literally just about to say that, Deshaun Watson going after Kyler Murray, Drew Brees, even maybe Russ, it can be argued. I mean, Deshaun Watson in the seventh round, when you consider the guys that are going after him, that's such a value. But even more of a value for Dak Prescott right there. I mean, that's pretty damn good. He's a lot of people's number 3 overall. Actually, I want to talk about Deshaun Watson today just because, I was hoping maybe he would get back to me in the 7th or the 8th. I was going to play it by ear if he made it back to me somehow. But, Deshaun Watson has moved up for me. We've been just talking about him. We've been talking about Will Fuller. We've been talking about this Houston offense in general.
Oh, yeah.
Deshaun,
I'm a fan.
Yeah, he's moved up over Kyler Murray for me for 2020. I still have Dak as my 5th overall. I have Dak at 4 or 5. I can't remember, but I've put Deshaun Watson over Kyler Murray at this point. So it's
this Drew Brees going in the 6th round. We obviously have a Saints homer. Why would you take Alvin Kamara at the 2nd overall pick, and then you want to get Drew Brees? A little questionable.
I think Kamara over CMC and Brees over Watson and Dak. Yep.
Yeah, we got a NOLA homer on board here. There's no doubt about it. But Steve, who do you take in at your 7-9?
Yeah, well, hey, look, that's going to happen in leagues, right? I mean, you're going to have the Saints homer or the Cowboys homer, so that's super realistic for a home league draft. I'm counting the wide receiver position. I got Keenan Allen with wide receiver 1 upside. With what I think could be a safe floor. I don't draft Keenan Allen ever. I drafted him today because I went 4 running backs. So then I get Will Fuller just to make sure I get him in the 6th round. And then I can come back with Tyler Boyd at the 709. Oh, yeah. No, I really, that's my favorite pick so far, I think, Tyler Boyd, because, he can be a 90 reception guy again. He just did that last year, 90 catches, 1,000 yards. AJ Green is back. And, there's people that are disparaging AJ Green. Well, okay. Well, then you must like Tyler Boyd. I think that there's a world where, if Joe Burrow is throwing 600 passes, AJ Green can catch 60 balls. But the target monster is indeed Tyler Boyd. And I think he's going to be a PPR machine. So I am coming back in the 8th round. Let me take a peek at the running back position.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, we had a few running backs go off the board. Had Matt Breida, Jordan Howard, who I'm apparently one of the only people that like Jordan Howard this year. So both Finn's backs going back to back. That's interesting. I can see why Breida would go ahead of Howard in PPR, but I'm going to be patient on Howard myself. I think that he's one of those dudes that, he's just every time he goes to a team, he takes away carries from somebody that somebody else loves, and you get scoring. You get pissed because Jordan Howard's hogging all the good goal line touches, and he's getting all these snaps, and it's you wish the dude wasn't playing, but coaches just love Jordan Howard. Really the only knock on him is he's not a good receiving back, but he does everything else pretty well. He doesn't do any one thing outstanding, but he does everything pretty damn good, and that's why coaches love him. So he goes off the board there at the 7-11. The turn goes Latavius Murray, one of my dudes that I like, that I was kind of had in my back pocket here. That's a little surprising, so I'm gonna have to kind of go to plan B. But Julian Edelman goes after that to complete the 7-8 turn, followed by Evan Ingram and Tom Brady. And Steve, before you make this 8th round pick, I know we're spending a while between your picks here. Remember that one time we did this mock with Mick, and you took 4 running backs straight, and then you started hammering receivers? Well, look over your left shoulder at your buddy there in the 10 hole, who went Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Cam Akers to start the draft.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, he goes AJ Green, Matt Breida. So this dude has 6 running backs in his first 8 picks.
Living on the edge, man.
Wow. Wowzers.
And if AJ Green hits, maybe that can be viable, but it's still I don't even feel comfortable right now, like the way I'm doing. I need receivers to feel like I don't even know. Is this a 3 receiver?
It is. It is.
Oh,
indeed.
there you go.
Yep, 3 receivers.
So
3 receivers, 2 flexes.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head, man. I mean, AJ Green has got to be the AJ Green of old, or else this dude's team build is not going to work. But it's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, I actually like AJ Green, but I would not want him as my top receiver. That would make me nervous. I'd be much more comfortable with him as a 2 or a 3.
Right.
Exactly. And, Josh, I had this whole thing planned where I was going to be like, hey, if I could get 70 catches in the 8th round for my running back and, with a player nicknamed the human joystick, wouldn't you take him? And, I'm looking at Tariq Cohen here, which I'm like, I know he's going to get 70 catches. And, he can be a highlight reel. So Tariq Cohen was actually going to be my pick, but 3 wide receiver, I'm really rethinking that. And I got to get Marvin Jones here, because I think that he has upside of 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Like that's what Marvin Jones can do. So let me put that on my team and make sure I have at least 4 receivers right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's solid. And Marvin Jones, very, very underrated. I mean, he started kind of getting some traction there right around the time we did our appearance on the SFB Podathon. There was a lot of guys on the Podathon talking about Marvin Jones, I noticed. And ever since, man, he's kind of been picking up some steam. So nice pick there in the 8th round, man. I mean, he's a stud. So, Mick, interested to see what you do here with your 8th round pick at the 8-5.
Well, I love Marvin Jones, and he was going to be my pick if Steve didn't take him. So I will, I will take your guys' scraps. And since Tariq Cohen is on the board, I will go that route and pick my receivers later because I do think there's a little bit of a tier break after Marvin Jones. So I'm a big fan of Jones this year. I think he's going to have a big year. So I'm going to wait on receiver for another round, and I'm going to take Cohen here as hopefully a flex play for me.
Yeah, if Tariq Cohen doesn't get 3 touchdowns again and he gets like 6 or 7, I mean, we're talking about Tariq Cohen as like a 5th or 6th round pick, but it's like we could go back and forth year to year with Cohen, like, oh, let's reach for him, and then he disappoints, and it's like, oh, let's, Tariq Cohen, he's a flat, and then he could pop off again. So I think that there's upside there that people aren't seeing, and the base of 60 or 70 catches for Tariq Cohen. I mean, he had 104 targets last season, guys. So Tariq Cohen is super value right now in PPR leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of PPR backs, I'm going to go with Zac Moss here. This is one of my favorite rookies, and I got all 3 of my running backs are rookies now. So just notice that. I mean, hey, you got to – well, hey, you got to play him young, but in this COVID season, it might be one of the worst strategies I've ever came up with. But at the same time, like if this, was a semi-normal season, Zac Moss has some passing chops, man. I saw a tweet by Graham Barfield who would mention that Zac Moss was right in line with Joe Mixon and Kamara as far as like yards created from pass receptions. And, very interesting statistic when you consider Zac Moss should be also getting most of the goal line work there. Of course, we had Paul Charchian on a couple weeks back, and his hot take, which we'll get from you at the end of the show, Mick, your hot take for 2020. But his hot take was that Zac Moss was going to outscore Devin Singletary. So when you're talking about literally getting one at the 4.3 and getting one at the 8.6, well, that's exactly half price. So I will be happy to take a half price Buffalo running back and pay half of what Devin Singletary costs to get Zac Moss, who has receiving upside and goal line work in his future. So very, very much like those prospects. So we'll go through the second half of the 8th round and the first half of the 9th round here. After Zac Moss goes Matt Ryan. So pretty much everybody except a couple teams have their quarterback now at this point, followed by his former teammate, Tevin Coleman, which is pretty decent value in the 8th round, followed by Deontay Johnson, Deebo Samuel, Phillip Lindsay. The 8-9 turn goes Antonio Gibson and Manny Sanders, followed by a little mini running back run of Sony Michel, Alex Madison, and Kerryon Johnson. So Sony going this late here at the 9-2.
You can't do it. He's gonna miss 8 games. So that, if it's announced that he's definitely going to miss 8 games, he's not a 9th round pick. So, I think that's definitely, an ill-advised pick. But
yeah. Well, this is our Saints homer, so he's still.
Oh man, he's got nothing to go.
He's still tilting. He's tilting that Latavius went at the 7-12, so he's still losing his shit, man. But we had Darius Slayton. Slayton goes off the board as the first Giants wide receiver, which I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just in the majority here, but I feel like that is kind of odd considering some of the consistency that we've seen from Golden Tate. Of course, our buddy Bob Lung, friend of the show, will tell you firsthand that Golden Tate's one of the most consistent NFL receivers out there. And then with somebody like Sterling Shepard, who if he can just stay on the field and stay healthy, he's been shown that he can be very productive as well. Maybe not as consistent as Tate, but then we get someone like Slayton, who's seen playing time only when those dudes are kind of injured and beat up. Is when he kind of is shown that he can produce. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this ends up playing out. So it swings back to me here in the 9th round. And man, I pretty much hate like everybody that's available. This is like one of those dead spots in the draft for me. And, I've already taken a quarterback. So like that's off the table for me. When you're looking at the tight ends, really Hunter Henry's like the only guy that I would consider at this point since Hayden Hurst went so early. But then
pointed that Tyler Higbee got sniped from you, right, Josh?
Yeah. Well, I'm such a anti Tyler Higbee stan that I just don't. I can't justify taking him.
I'm just glad that he's falling to the 9th round here, and he's not like a 7th round pick like we've been seeing. Yeah.
Like some of these drafts, you're seeing him go in the 6th and 7th, and I mean, I'm sorry, I think that the Hayden Hurst, at 7.5 is much more reasonable than taking Higbee there, in my opinion, especially when you consider him and Everett have like the same, yards per target or whatnot. That they saw like last year, they were literally getting the same action. So that's somebody I'm not going to invest in. So I'm glad that this dude kind of fell on the sword for me, if you want to say so. But it's tough, man. This really doesn't leave me with a whole lot of options. I mean, there's like rookie receivers out there, which sucks because I don't want to take any more rookies. But I guess if you are going to take some rookies, and that's what Justin did on our father-son mock draft. He took a bunch of rookie running backs, and I kind of jabbed him for it. So, if you guys want to hate on me for doing the same thing and being a total hypocrite, that's more than fair. But I will go ahead and take Hunter Henry here. I feel like if I partner him with another decent tight end, I can kind of stave off some of that injury risk that comes with Hunter Henry. But that swings it over to you, Mick, for your 9th round pick at the 9-8.
So, Josh, it's funny because I actually really love this part of the draft. The main reason is because of the rookie receivers. I just think that there is such a diverse and deep rookie class that I really think some of these guys are going to be standouts from the jump. Having said that, I only have 2 receivers thus far, and I want to get somebody a little more stable. So with this pick, I'm going to take my boy, this is my homer pick. I'm going to take Jameson Crowder. He was actually a top 30 PPR receiver last year, even though, Darnold missed a month and the offense was just, terrible. And I'm hoping it'll be at least a little bit better. Can't promise, a top 10 offense, but I think hopefully they'll be a little more consistent. And Crowder's going to get his. I know they brought in Perriman and drafted Mims, but Crowder is Darnold's go-to guy. So I'm going to take Crowder as my 3rd wideout.
Dude, you totally threw me off the scent, bro. You were talking about rookie receivers, and I thought for sure you were going to go Dak stack and take CeeDee Lamb. Not only was he sitting right there as the top of the wide receiver ADP. Which, by the way, PSA, we're just using the site ADPs right now, but you guys should really kind of have like your own, trusty PPR rankings or whatever format you're doing. If it's tight end premium, this is not, for example, this is not super flex either. We're starting 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, a quarterback, and a tight end, and a couple of flexes. So, but yeah, Mick, you totally tricked me, brother. You were talking about how you love these rookie receivers, and I was going to say,
and I do.
I was going to say, it kind of depends.
I will be taking one.
Well, this is interesting because so after you take Crowder, Steve, it's on you, and you're one of those 3 teams that does not have a quarterback yet. And there's a quarterback out there there's 2 actually that I feel like are the best available players on the board. And you could definitely stack one of them with one of these rookie receivers that we were talking about, who I think is viable. I think that's a viable stack that you can rely on. But interested to see what you do here at the 9-9, my man.
Which stack are you talking about? I missed that. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking a Wentz and Jalen Reagor stack is kind of tasty here.
Yeah, so definitely that's what I was looking at was Rodgers and Wentz. I guess could be considered the best available to get either at the back of the 9th round. You're doing great. I'm going to get a quarterback with my last pick in this draft. We're doing 13 rounds. I'll wait till the 13th round to get a quarterback. There's too many on the board I like. So I'm going to actually go because Keenan Allen is my wide receiver 1 right now, right? What have I been chasing since that? Is like my wide receiver 1. Well, I'm going to get my wide receiver 1 out of this draft class. And Mick was talking about, I thought he was going to grab CD Lamb. But I also get a piece of the Cowboys offense, which we've talked about on this show is a great fantasy offense. So now I have a piece of that, one of the best values in that offense, other than Blake Jarwin, who we've talked about too. So, yeah, now I got CD Lamb. I think he can get something like 80, 90 targets this season. And something that we're not really talking about is Amari Cooper played a lot out the slot last year, and his, off the line burst is average. So when we talk about Amari Cooper, I think we think of the first round pedigree and the route running and the hands and, the big plays, but he is pretty average when it comes to the metrics of, the burst off the line, separation at press coverage. So what if we see Amari Cooper in the slot a little bit more? And CD Lamb is now in the position to be that X receiver. I mean, he is the prototypical wide receiver 1. So this upside with him, I don't get him in a lot of places in drafts for 2020. I have him in Dynasty, of course. So the way I feel about CD Lamb is he could be a wide receiver 1 in this league sooner than later is how I feel about CD Lamb.
After your pick, of course, the 2 quarterbacks I was talking about were Josh Allen and Carson Wentz. And, of course, it goes Rodgers, Allen, Wentz, back to back to back. Our dude in the 10 hole, we'll just call him Ben at 10. He's like, hey, I'd rather have 2 quarterbacks before I even get my second receiver. Not something we recommend, people. But the 9-10 turn goes Wentz followed by Hardman. Then 2 of these rookie receivers, Henry Ruggs, followed by Jerry Jeudy. And Steve, are you going with another rookie receiver here, or what are you going to do at the 10-4?
So I've hammered receiver. I feel pretty safe there. I could probably not draft another receiver for a while. We're only doing 13 rounds. Typically, a draft will be a little bit longer. We're just doing this for time's sake. So I'm going to lock up my tight end 1 here and go with Noah Fant. Upside for me, he's, my highest ranked tight end, so I would draft him here. Typically, if we were in a 16, 17 round draft, I may wait. There's a lot of guys here I like, but I'll just get him now because I kind of have a plan with what I'm going to do for my next 2 picks. And those are running backs. Spoiler alert.
Well, unless Mick gets crazy and goes running back here, but I got a feeling Mick might be breaking my heart here. This is your 10th round pick. You're at the 10-5, Mick. You going receiver again?
I'm going to go receiver again, and please don't mistake me not taking Lamb for anything other than best of intentions. I love CeeDee Lamb.
Your justification of Crowder over Lamb is sound and logical. I mean, he's a PPR machine.
No doubt.
So with this pick, I'm going to take somebody who I think is going to have a pretty big role in his team's offense this year. He is a rookie receiver. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson.
Love it.
The targets vacated by Diggs have to go somewhere, and Kyle Rudolph's not going to get a ton of work, and they got Rudolph and Irv Smith and no one to oppose Thielen on the other side. So I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson here.
All right. I see. I thought you were going to go with Jalen Reagor, so I will go ahead and scoop him up a little mini rookie receiver run though with Jefferson, Reagor just shortly after Judy and Ruggs. That brings us to the second half of the 10th and first half of the 11th here with Darrell Henderson, Matt Stafford, Keyshawn Vaughn, Jared Cook, and Cam Newton going off the board there. So a couple teams now, 3 of it to be exact, have 2 QBs. The turn for 10-11 goes Pollard and Boston Scott. And we go Chase Edmonds, Duke Johnson just after that, followed by Christian Kirk, Damian Harris, and A.J. Dillon. And that's going to break it to me. So the way my roster construction is set up, I now have 5 receivers. I also have just 3 running backs, which is kind of terrible and not really at all the way I typically draft. So I feel gross taking like 2 of the guys that I want here. So I'm going to kind of wait on running back just a little bit longer. And I mentioned when I took Hunter Henry in the 9th round that I want to be sure that I ended up pairing him with somebody that I feel like is going to be a capable secondary option. And for me, there's a couple dudes out here that definitely fit that bill, mainly TJ Hawkinson and Mike Gesicki. So those are the dudes I'm debating between. For me, I'm going to spread a little bit more homer love and go with TJ Hawkinson. I just think the upside's tremendous. We saw it in week 1. He got hurt kind of shortly after that and was just banged up throughout the year. So I definitely think we're going to see a big time sophomore campaign from TJ Hawkinson. So he's my guy here in the 11th round, which swings it to you, Mick. Still doing this Mick sandwich here. You're at the 11.8. Who are you looking at here?
It's tough because there's a lot of different directions we can go in. I mean, again, Steve mentioned before, most drafts have 16, 18, 20 rounds. We're only going 13 here. So, a little bit tricky on which direction I want to go to, but I'm going to take a running back here. I'm going to go with Deandre Washington. I know your boy CEH is probably the lead dog there, and that's not really a question, but that offense is so good. And, there is a chance that they give the veteran a little bit more work than most people anticipate. So I want a piece of that Chiefs offense. So I'm going to take Washington here.
I like it. I like that pick a lot, actually. That's somebody I was kind of considering. He was one of those guys that I mentioned. Did not think he was on anyone else's radar. I'm such a fool, and I'm ashamed. How dare I?
There are receivers on the board here that I'm considering. I thought I was going to take a running back. I think I'm not. I think I'm going to actually get one of these receivers. We have Sammy Watkins available, who is being underdrafted. Getting a piece of that Kansas City offense with a talent like Sammy Watkins, I think he needs to be drafted more. You're getting him in the double-digit rounds. It's great. So you don't have to do anything for Sammy Watkins. I'm not going to get him here. Deshaun Jackson, also viable. Sterling Shepard, Anthony Miller. I mean, the 11th round, all these picks are great picks. I think that I'm actually going to go Golden Tate and get the PPR scoring. I feel like I have a receiver there who I can plug in each and every week. So I couldn't just walk away when I saw, Golden Tate on the board and what I think maybe this Giants offense can be.
Yeah, I love that pick. I mean, especially in a PPR league, I already made my case for him being the best, the receiver in the Giants receiver room that you want to own. This draft really plays that discrepancy out, though, with Slayton going in the 9th, Tate in the 11th, and then Shepard in the 12th round. That's definitely not at all how these guys are ranked. So it's interesting to see the way that they're falling off the board here. So we go Sammy Watkins immediately after your pick. Not sure if there's any instant regret there. But followed by AP, Danny Dimes, Justin Jackson. Then we go Deshaun Jackson, who you just mentioned, Steve, followed by Sterling Shepard, who I mentioned. And then there it is, your boy Josh Kelly at the 12.4. I know you talked about him on the live stream Wednesday a little bit.
Don't need to talk about him. If you're going to a draft, you just get Josh Kelly at the end of your draft, and then you're walking into at least 150 carries for an offense that I think can be a little bit more productive than people think on the ground. So Josh Kelly, just I don't have to get him in the 12th round. I got him here just to get him because that's just what I do. I draft Josh Kelly in 2020 offseason. Things get weird in 2020 with COVID and everything, and I just have to draft Josh Kelly. You can get him in the 17th round, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to, on brand, draft Josh Kelly.
Yeah, staying on brand. Lev Bell with Josh Kelly. Your backfield is looking very Taroni. So. Mick, it's on you, buddy. You have the 12-5. Who are you going with?
So here's where I regret going Crowder over Lamb a little bit, because the receivers that are popping up, and I know it's only a mock, but the receivers coming up have the same bye week as Crowder and Parker, and I'm only drafting 5 or 6 wide receivers. So I'm going to try to go with somebody who will get me some playing time, and much like Justin Jefferson, going to take the secondary target on an NFC North team. So I'm going to take Allen Lazard. Got to get somebody besides Devonte Adams involved, you would think. So I think we're going to go with Lazard here.
Love it.
Outstanding pick. Absolutely outstanding pick. I took him in Scott Fishbowl, and I found a lot of people that were drafting at the turn in Scott Fishbowl were ending up with Allen Lazard right around that same area there in the 12th, 13th round. Even later in some instances. When I got him, he was a screaming value. He might not be like the best wide receiver 2 out there, but he is a wide receiver 2 for his team, and he is going to get looks. And, from what all the beat writers are saying, I mean, he's got a defined leg up on everyone else there. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I know you mentioned some of the receivers going off the board had the same bye week as your, Jameson Crowder with week 11. And I instantly knew that you were talking about Brandon Ayuk and, of course, Anthony Miller, Preston Williams, all those guys, John Brown, literally 4 of the 5 receivers that go in the next 12 picks, the back half of the 12th and first half of the 13th, are those guys. So, and we also have 4 quarterbacks go, Roethlisberger, Hooper, Jared Goff, and then we get Ayuk, Miller, and then the turn goes Baker Mayfield, Preston Williams, followed by Michael Pittman, the only receiver that didn't have a week 11 bye. Then we get Joe Burrow, who I don't know if that stings a little bit there, Steve, but these quarterbacks, man, there's like everybody's got 2 quarterbacks. It's like must be the year to get a backup quarterback, apparently, which we wouldn't recommend normally in a 12-team 1 quarterback league. But Anthony McFarland goes off the board after Burrow. Naheem Hines goes after that, followed by John Brown, which swings it to me. And I'm going to go ahead. I don't know if I talked about my 12th round pick, but that was Carlos Hyde. Just one of those guys that he's like the new Frank Gore, had his first 1,000-yard season last year, which doesn't seem right, but believe it or not, that is exactly what happened. So this is that point in the draft where you're just kind of taking lotto tickets and hoping that some of these guys pay off. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with my 13th round pick. Going with Chris Thompson. He was the receiving back for Jay Gruden those years in Washington. He loves the dude. Absolutely productive in a PPR league. And Nick, that swings it to you for the last round here.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to take I could take a backup tight end or a backup quarterback, but that just seems kind of silly in a mock. So I'm going to take another receiver here. And I'm going to go with Mike Williams. Steve mentioned the Keenan Allen love with the Chargers, and I think Taylor airs it out quite a bit. We saw that a little bit in Buffalo with Sammy Watkins and even Marquise Goodwin to some extent. So I think I like Mike Williams. It's kind of like that last round flyer, more of a best ball type. But in this format, I'll take a shot with Mike Williams in my last pick.
Well, speaking of 1,000 yards, that's what Mike Williams had last year. So he's being completely disrespected. No one knows what to do with the Chargers. I think there is so much hidden value on the Chargers team. I picked Josh Kelly. Justin Jackson's another guy. Mike Williams. I mean, Mike Williams is – you're not going to get a cheaper 1,000-yard receiver. So that's just a great pick right there. And I was certainly
I think I have Tyrod Taylor in every single super flex and best ball deep league that I've done so far. So yeah, I'm with you on the Chargers.
You were right, Josh. Joe Burrow going off the board. Yeah, I would have loved to have my QB 10, especially since I have Tyler Boyd. I get that nice stack. I love having in a redraft league my stacks to be kind of like it's my third receiver. It's not necessarily my wide receiver 1 because I'm not relying on that stack every week. It's like, yeah, if it hits,
right. Right.
So that's kind of how I would have loved that. But Joe Burrow goes off the board. So I'm in full stream mode at that point. And so I've talked about before, Jimmy Garoppolo, super slept on. No one cares about Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, you know what? If you're streaming and you draft a quarterback and he doesn't have a good week 1 matchup, I don't know what you're doing. So I'm just going to stream the position. And Jimmy Garoppolo plays the Arizona Cardinals week 1. And I know that the dude who just got paid, George Kittle, is scoring at least 1 touchdown. So if Jimmy Garoppolo can throw just another touchdown to Brandon Ayuk or another one to George Kittle, I'm happy. I'll pick Jimmy Garoppolo. He has a few good weeks there at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, I could just ride him out for a couple weeks there.
Yeah, and quite handsome, as everyone likes to point out as well. So, you got that going for you as well. But, just crazy that everyone basically that I should say everyone that's not a sleeper bot basically took 2 quarterbacks. So a little weird. But it's 2 things stand out to me in this draft. And one is some of the receivers that are still available. I mean, we have been pining over the potential for Robbie Anderson. We've discussed how Hunter Renfrow is going to get his share of targets this year. You have guys like N'Keal Harry, who, the last time we did a mock draft episode, he went off the board much earlier than the 13th round, I believe. Guys like Brashad Perriman and Denzel Mims, Mick, your hometown receivers. Those guys are all still on the board after we've drafted 13 rounds here. And you also have a little bit of unprecedented depth here, probably to the likes that we've never seen before at the tight end position. I mean, Jonnu Smith didn't even go off the board. Steve, after you picked, the last 3 picks of our draft were 2 tight ends, Gesicki and Jarwin, and then Shady McCoy in between there.
Oh, yeah. But Gesicki and Jarwin in the 13th round is just silly. That's awesome right there.
Yeah, so Jonnu Smith not getting taken. I honestly, if this is like a real league, I don't think anybody's going to be taking, 2 quarterbacks like there were. So I do think Jonnu Smith would probably go off the board a little earlier, and maybe a couple of these other receivers so people can have, a little more depth, especially our dude that only drafted 4 receivers here. That was a little odd, but these aren't perfect, but they are good exercise. And it does make you kind of realize things. Anything stand out to either of you guys on this draft? Mick, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, I think it's like you said. I think a receiver is so deep that I think it makes a lot of sense to go heavy running backs early, because there are just a ton of receivers. I know Josh, you said you didn't like the middle rounds as much, but I kind of love, those values in the 8th, 9th, 10th, even 11th round. I mean, you're getting guys like Golden Tate in the 11th round of a PPR league. I mean, that's a good value to me. So I think a lot of these receivers in the middle rounds are going to exceed their ADP.
Yeah, the running backs really got pushed up in this. Steve, who else did anything pop out to you on this?
Well, I just wanted to say that, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have gone 4 running backs. I don't think. I recently, have been enthralled with what Jonathan Taylor can be. But realistically, at the 404, that's still, kind of risky. I mean, like, this is what I've been thinking about, like Kareem Hunt and, guys like that we, that were rookies that we took a shot on, or maybe we passed up. They really hit. And, Josh Jacobs, another example last year, right? We just saw it. 4th round pick that if you faded him, you were mistaken. You could have walked away with an RB1 in the 4th round. So that's what Jonathan Taylor could be. So, that's why I got him there. And, Mick, you started off very interesting. I like that, you're getting a tier 1 tight end in the 4th round, and you're getting 2 stud running backs. Is there anything you would have done differently in a real draft?
I think in a real draft, I probably would have taken another running back instead of Ertz. No, obviously one of those things, knowing now, what I know then, sort of thing. Andrews is still available around later. Waller didn't go to the 6th round of this draft. So I don't see much difference between Ertz and those two guys. So I think I probably would have been better served to either take a running back or possibly even, go the DJ Moore route there and then take my tight end a round or two later.
Yeah, that's true. DJ Moore, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. I mean, all of these guys are like great picks. I can, Terry McLaurin creeping into the 4th round there. And we love Terry McLaurin. And I think we kind of alluded to it. I forget who we were talking to, but the question was Terry McLaurin or DJ Chark. And I think all 3 of us picked Chark, right? So 412 McLaurin goes off the board. Cooper Kupp goes after him. DJ Chark, AJ Brown. All 3 of those guys I would comfortably take ahead of McLaurin. AJ Brown, there's this perception that he's just a yak guy, that he's just a big play guy, that he's not a big reception guy. Why? I have no idea why that's a perception right now. AJ Brown is best served in the slot, and Ryan Tannehill is his quarterback. I mean, he peppered Jarvis Landry with targets for years. So AJ Brown has this upside that, his value right now is so funny because, like, I thought going into this year that he would be like a 3rd round pick. And it's like all these other players like Ridley, McLaurin that are getting kind of the hype. DJ Moore, and deservedly so, DJ Moore should be drafted, I think, ahead of those guys, or most of the guys I just mentioned. And Mick, thanks for joining us on tonight's mock draft. And where can everybody find you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at themick23, and you can catch me on Fantrax as well, doing weekly columns for them with when the football season begins. But exactly not sure what I'm doing yet, but we'll make it entertaining and we'll make it happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, check out Fantrax and all of Mick's work over there. Super excited. Please tune in next week. I want to announce that we're going to have Michael Fabiano on the hot take of SI Fantasy. So we're going to get him in here, represent the Full-Time Fantasy Network. Very excited about that. Maybe we'll throw some ADP sandwiches at him. Maybe we'll throw some sandwiches. You know what we should do, Josh? We need to find that Bad Santa boy, that little boy from Bad Santa, who's probably not like a boy now. I'm sure he's grown. But, like, he's not doing anything, right? He'll probably just join us for a podcast and just do the sandwiches thing.
Yeah, you never know. We never know. We could get him to take a break from his next commercial gig, and maybe slide in for just at least a quick 10 seconds so he can like repeat that line.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll do it up for Fabs. Maybe we'll get the little boy from Bad Santa in here.
No, we're not making any promises though.
Yeah, no promises, Fabs. All right. Yeah. Yeah. On behalf of our special guest Mick, Josh Daly, this has been the Hot Take Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, check us out on iHeartRadio, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, thanks for listening. This has been the Hot Take Podcast.